Hey gang, it's Friday, July 17th. Ethan, Max, and listeners, welcome to Behind the Numbers, an eMarketer podcast. This is the show that keeps you up to date with everything media, marketing, and tech. In about 20 minutes or so, I'm Marcus, and joining me for today's conversation, we have with us principal forecasting writer in New York, Ethan Kramer-Flood.
Hello from eMarketer's freezing in-house studio, but I love it.
It's not that bad. Probably is. Principal social media analyst joins us from Philly, Max Williams.
Yo.
There he is.
That's how you save time. Good job, Max.
Exactly.
Every second counts.
So, the world's highest paid athletes during the 2025-2026 season, all sports around the world, who got paid the most? Guesses.
Cristiano Ronaldo?
Salary or income? Oh, well, he got it anyway.
Already beat you.
Yeah,
sorry. Cristiano Ronaldo. It's overall. It's not just so it's on the field and off the field earnings. Right. Cristiano Ronaldo topped all athletes with an estimated $300 million in earnings. The only person above the 200 mark and roughly $130 million ahead of second place, boxer Canelo Alvarez.
Wow.
Messi was third. The top 10 list here is Ronaldo, Canelo Alvarez, Lionel Messi, LeBron James, Shohei Ohtani, Steph Curry, John Rahm, golf, Karim Benzema, soccer, KD, Kevin Durant, and then Lewis Hamilton, Formula One racer.
I wonder who has the highest just straight up salary. That might be an NBA player at this point. They're making about $75 million a year for some of these guys.
So, like on court, on field earnings.
Yeah, just your contracts. No sponsorships.
Probably still Ronaldo, isn't it? Just because that he plays in that Saudi league that's like fake, but you know.
Oh, is he still doing that? Oh,
I think
yeah,
so.
his on-field earnings were $235 million. Okay. Off-field was 65. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, it's him. Oh my God.
Steph will make a bit more than KD next year, who will make a little bit more than LeBron. Some interesting takeaways from this research. So there's a Visual Capitalist article. They just do brilliant work, and the source is Forbes. Shohei Ohtani and LeBron James earned more off the field than they did on the field or on the court, or on the pitch, on the whatever. And across last season, 2025-2026, the world's 10 highest paid athletes earned $1.4 billion combined from salaries, prize money, endorsements, appearance fees, licensing, and business ventures.
Not bad.
Eat your vegetables, kids.
Messi famously turned down and reported, I don't know if you guys saw about it, read about this, $1 billion 2-year contract from a Saudi soccer league in 2023. I knew they were trying to get him. I didn't realize how much money, choosing to join Inter Miami in Major League Soccer.
I like to think that I can't be bought, but I think if someone offered me $1 billion for 2 years of work, I would fold like a champ. I mean, holy moly. I'm sorry I called it fake earlier. I take everything back. Please call my business manager whenever you are ready.
I love sports, but it does seem like a lot to play a game. Like, there are registered nurses keeping people alive who make 3,000 times less than Ronaldo. And they're like, doesn't he just kick a baller out? And you're like, correct.
There are brilliant eMarketer analysts making nowhere near as much money. That's outrageous.
You don't deserve that much, Ethan. That much is true. Anyway, today's real topic: how our time spent with media is changing. All right, we have a new time spent with media report, new research, new numbers from our wonderful forecasting team. Ethan puts them all together in a delicious little report that tells us all about what's going on with time spent with media online. Ethan, you're going to go first. We're going to talk about some of the main findings from that report, what interested us the most, what jumped out to you.
I mean, this is a tough question because what is most interesting to me versus what is the real headline? What is most interesting to me is something television related, but let's hit the headline and then I'll circle back. I'll circle back because I feel that in order to be responsible both to the ingenuity of my forecasting team and to our audience, I got to hit the headline, which is that we have debuted a generative AI time spent forecast for the first time. So it is, this is unique. I don't think anyone else has this other than us. It really helps to situate and contextualize the impact that generative AI is having on the average consumer, the average adult in the US. And at least from the time spent with media perspective, it's not that high, which I think is an interesting headline. So we, according to our analysis, the average adult across the entire population is spending, as of now, about 16 minutes per day with generative AI, native generative AI chatbots or platforms. Active users, those who, that the 60-minute a day number incorporates the multi-hundred million people who are still not participating in AI. So that's a whole lot of zeros in the math. If we count only those people that have jumped on board and are using AI, it's up over half an hour a day, which is, both of those numbers are meaningful. But they are small in the grand scheme of our time spent with media overall forecast, which finds that we as Americans spend well over 13 hours a day with media. So 16 minutes doesn't account for much. And in fact, that is dead last among the activities that we break out. That said, it's growing quickly. Huge growth. So I'm not here just to say, oh, pish posh, there's nothing going on here, nothing to see here. There is something to see here. It's by far the fastest growing screen time activity that we track, or media activity that we track, internet activity. But it is still pretty small at this point. And so that's the headline.
But growing, I see, Max, I wonder what your take is here, because when Ethan's right, it's when you rank it by activity, it's not high at all. It's at the bottom. But when you look at the number of minutes, and let's take users for a second, even just across the population, but let's take users, half an hour a day. And what we're saying here, Ethan, is that Google's AI overviews don't count, right? We're just talking about native AI platforms.
Correct. Incidental interactions with AI where something spits an AI answer out at you that you weren't really, we did not count those. Correct.
Yeah. So spending half an hour a day having a back and forth with AI platforms, Max, I actually think that's quite meaningful.
Yeah, and I think that you hit on the reason why it's so meaningful, Marcus, which is the fact that this is, unlike a lot of the other stuff that's totted up in this forecast, this is active, engaged, time with a kind of technology, right? This isn't just kind of like, sinking into your couch, watching television, or, having a podcast on while you are doing the dishes. This is, actively conversing with or pushing this AI to help you create something, to work on something. And there's a lot of reasons that this is important, right? Like, so one of them is that it kind of affirms the value of it as a potential advertising surface, because you've got people that are really leaned in, that are really kind of engaged, and who are theoretically being served advertising that's highly relevant to people at a moment when they're really deeply engaged with something.
Yeah.
And it also too, like, is something that is not easily replicated in other spaces, right? So like, obviously there's time spent with search, there's time spent gaming. I think it's important to remember that a lot of people do fundamentally use AI as a sort of, not a toy, but a way to amuse themselves, right? Like they sort of entertain themselves using it. And so it's, in addition to being incremental and sort of new time spent against an already surreal amount of time spent engaging with media, it's also kind of novel engagement and novel time spent. And so that's one of the, just two more entries on a really, really long list of why marketers and advertisers are really obsessing over AI and the role that it's taking in our lives.
Yeah. Ethan, I thought it's a brilliant point that you indicated in the research, which was desktop and laptop usage also getting a bump. Because
that was almost an unexpected finding, or a finding that we had to back our way into, in as much as desktop, laptop, or just, let's just say, computer time spent has been declining for really 15 years. If you think about how much time we all just either spend on the couch in front of a big TV or scrolling our smartphones, computers are an afterthought. Sure, we all spend a lot of time in them at work, but most of that, or a large chunk of that, wouldn't count in this. But in terms of the media, internet connected browsing activity, or anything that we would count for time spent with media, it's just been going down almost like an hour a day. And then all of a sudden, 2 or 3 years ago, it started to tick back up again. And we didn't really remark upon it at the beginning. But now, after several years of computer time spent growth, it's like, oh, we know what's happening here. This is pretty obvious because there's this brand new factor in screen time, generative AI, that overwhelmingly is more useful and more convenient to use on a computer. Which is like, there hasn't been a storyline like that in a really, really long time, right? Most new stuff is either on your CTV or it's on your smartphone. Suddenly we have something new that's for a computer screen. So yeah, good news for those device makers.
ChatGPT was launched, and you start to see this turnaround almost immediately. All right, Max, what jumped out to you from the report?
Well, I hate to be, sort of so closely aligned with my own book of business or coverage areas, but I was struck by what our forecasting team found when it came to time spent with social media, right? So one of the sort of most important stories around social media over the last couple of years has been the projected sort of plateauing of time spent on these social networks, right? So there had been this kind of steadily upward trend that we'd been able to chart for many, many years, followed by a pretty marked spike during the pandemic for obvious reasons, right? We basically couldn't go anywhere. And, when everybody ran out of Netflix or tired of watching, people play shuffleboard on ESPN, they just thought, well, I guess I'll just look at TikTok more or, spend more time on Instagram. And so there was this gigantic spike. And then it looked for really several years afterward, like we had sort of finally reached the top of people saying, I cannot scroll anymore. And that had really, really immense implications for the ad prospects for a lot of the social networks, and also just frankly how we thought about the digital landscape. But as you look at these numbers, it really just kind of proves out a couple of different things that have been sort of bubbling under the surface of the conversation around social. One is the sort of like proof that short form video has really become a very important kind of component of everybody's media diets, right? Like this isn't just people, finding TikTok and getting stuck on it and thinking, oh, this isn't a kind of core component. This is proof that people like this kind of content across Meta's devices, across, Snapchat, on Pinterest. Reddit is currently working feverishly to try to figure out how to incorporate more video into its own experiences. And so that, I think, is a really, really key component of this. And the other one is frankly related to shopping. I mean, here again, I think TikTok deserves a huge chunk of credit for sort of proving out that people like the idea of buying stuff while they're using social media. And I think that as we look into the sort of near-term future, we're going to sort of see this kind of continued expansion because the social networks are all in their own kind of distinct ways leaning into making themselves more valuable parts of the consumer purchase journey. Sometimes it's in sort of helping people figure out, what kind of product is best, turning to Reddit to say, I'm trying to decide between, these two pairs of headphones, which one is better, or, looking to Pinterest when you're thinking, I want to remodel my kitchen. I don't know how or why or what that's going to look like, but I got to start somewhere. And so they pop open Pinterest, or, Instagram kind of continuing to expand its own use in terms of shopping, and also just its ad product continuing to prove that it can kind of introduce people to something that they want to buy on the spot. So I was just, even though it's something that I think I and colleagues have been wondering about for a while, it was really interesting to see those questions sort of answered in Ethan's forecast.
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't it have been great if we had actually been right and that peak, we called it. We're like, the peak is coming and then there's going to be a slow decline. I remember saying that a couple of years ago, and everyone was very excited. They're like, that's great news.
Yeah.
Our society is heading in the right direction. Finally.
When I read...
Nope, we were wrong. That did not happen.
Incorrect.
When I read that part of the research, I was like, hang on a second. I thought that wasn't necessarily the case. Ethan, when you and the team were reviewing this, is there anything else apart from what Max said that kind of jumped out to you as to why it's still going up and is kind of
everything he said is exactly spot on. I mean, if you drill down under the numbers, there are really two specific precise stories and mathematically in terms of why, what's something that could have been flatlining is not flatlining, and that's really it's Facebook and TikTok. So we had the story there that kind of was true for a little while, a few years ago, that Facebook isn't cool anymore. Facebook is losing engagement. People hardly ever check in, and when they do check in, they're spending less time, and that just has changed. That he's turned it around. They figured it out. I mean, I'm not saying Facebook is cool now, but their engagement challenges seem to have been resolved, and instead of being a drag on the top line numbers, it just isn't. I mean, Instagram never really had a bump in the road. They were flying, but Facebook was not flying. And so it was starting to be a drag, and then it just stopped being a drag. And then the other one was TikTok fatigue, TikTok political issues. TikTok was a big part of the growth story for a long time. And that also really did sort of hit a bump in the road as society it felt like people were getting sick of TikTok. And then there was also the possibility of the ban. And that went away. And maybe Max hit on it when in terms of TikTok has also changed, their emphasis on shopping. It's sort of a different experience for some folks now. But the TikTok fatigue thing, they just kind of got past it. And obviously the political problems are in the rearview mirror too. So those two major players shifting their fortunes kind of mathematically explains the top 9 number going from sort of plateauing to just continuing to accelerate, or not accelerate, but continuing to grow.
Yeah. All right, we've got time for one more. Ethan, back to you.
The other one that I teased. Yeah. So for me, even though GenAI debut was the headline, understandably, I thought our television sort of insights, or the results that we were able to detect for traditional TV, and with it a sort of new converged TV data point, were pretty interesting. TV, good old fashioned linear traditional TV, is not doing as bad as it once was. How's that for a headline? So let me be clear. Television is still declining. Television is still losing viewers, and it is still losing engagement, and it is losing time spent per day, the traditional TV. However, it is declining much more slowly than it once was. Not quite, sort of plateauing, but it's just sort of in a feather fall now. And we think a lot of that has to do with the enduring strength of broadcast TV, and particularly live sports on broadcast TV. So while the cord-cutting phenomenon has not stopped at all and cable TV is in big trouble, the broadcast networks kind of aren't. They seem to be doing okay, or at least that is the explanation that we have come up with as to why TV in general is not doing nearly so bad as it was before. There seems to be a very, very long shelf life for regular broadcast TV going forward. And then that in turn feeds into another new data point that I think the marketing world in general is sort of coming around to the idea that traditional linear TV and digital connected TV, CTV, are sort of two sides of the same coin. And it's become more appropriate to sort of look at them together now as it's just the big screen in the living room. It's just what we all do when we sit on the couch, and we're just consuming this big screen. And whether we're doing it in some sort of traditional over the air or on some cable network, or more likely streaming, it's just kind of it's increasingly the same experience both for the consumer and for advertisers. And that figure is enormous. It's well over 5 hours a day. And in fact, now that we're sort of calculating it that way, rather than considering TV and CTV competitors, they're just sort of two sides of the same coin. The big screen in the living room still commands more time per day than our smartphones do, which is not really, we think of mobile phones, smartphones as being so utterly dominant in every facet of our lives. But actually, that big screen living room is more dominant, and it is solidly ahead, and it will remain ahead for a long time. So that was the one that jumped out to me.
Yeah, 40 minutes more time on the converged TV, traditional plus that's ETV, than mobile this year. And as Ethan alluded to, still ahead in a couple of years' time, still half an hour more with that television. However, the content's getting delivered with TV than mobile, half an hour more in a couple of years' time. Max, anything about this trend that jumped out to you?
No, I think that Ethan's right to highlight it. To me, the first thing it made me think of was just the sort of durability of sports, which is a topic that's been, practically beaten to death at this point. But like, that's also something that gets kind of unpacked for the first time in this report. And it is really just kind of astonishing when you look at it, right? I mean, like, I think the time spent with sports television essentially has dropped ever so slightly, but I feel like most of that decline can be attributed to second screening, right? Like, a lot of the top line number in this report is due to second screening or sort of multi media-ing. There's probably a more elegant term for it than that, but you know, I think all the time about, you know, I'm now probably a decade into, you know, watching basketball games with, you know, my phone in my hand, toggling between, you know, an X list and a Discord server where I, you know, follow along to people living and dying with, you know, whatever Jalen Brunson is doing. And it's really interesting to think about how dependable that is and how valuable that makes sports as a kind of content category. You know, one of the things that's going to be really fascinating to watch over the next several years is just how aggressively the sort of CTV and streaming players go after sports media rights. So, you know, whether that's the World Cup or the NFL, which, you know, is likely to sort of rip up the media rights deals that it has in light of the Warner Brothers Paramount merger. And I just think that where that goes and what happens there is going to be really, really interesting to watch over the next couple of years.
Ross has a hot take on sports viewership, which will be out. He'll be talking about that on the Monday episode, so tune into that. Traditional media is stubborn, because if you break out the 13 and a half hours we spend with media every day that Ethan mentioned at the top of the show, about 9.5 of that is digital, which means that somehow traditional still has 4 hours, and in 2 years' time we'll have a little under 4 hours. And a big part of that is the TV story, but traditional media's resilience.
Shout out radio. Here we are on an audio format. I mean, we're on an audio format that's become a visual format, but we are on an audio format. Radio is still getting almost an hour and 20 minutes a day. Traditional radio, hour and 20.
Get after it.
You know, digital audio more than that. But yeah, to your point, I mean, this stuff doesn't go away.
Nope. But we have to.
There you go.
Come on. That's why I pay me those medium ones. Thank you so much to my guests for today. Thank you so much to Ethan.
Oh, I can't top that outro. You win. Have a good night.
Of course. Thank you to Max.
Always a pleasure, Marcus. Thank you.
Yes, indeed, gentlemen. Thanks to the production crew. We have John and some mysterious person in the background who I wasn't told who it was. Who was in the background? Who else is in the studio, Ethan?
Oh my God, he's got a knife.
I saw Lance. I saw Danny. Mike.
Everyone's
I saw
in.
Mike.
Mike's there too. The whole crew. Everyone but Stuart. And that's it, actually. Just Stuart, who runs the team, not helping out with this one. Unforgivable. Thank you so much to people who listened into this episode Behind the Numbers eMarketer podcast. We're back on Monday, peering into the future. As I mentioned, Ross will be with us for our What If episode. Until then, happiest of weekends.